Welcome to the Growth Lab, a trusted space for parents navigating their child's developmental journey. I'm Luba Patlakh, speech-language pathologist, myofunction therapist, a child and family advocate, and a mom of 3. For the last 15 years, I've worked with more than 150,000 children and families, helping parents better understand what they're seeing, what it means, and how to move forward with confidence. I'm the founder of Kidology, recognized twice on the Inc. 5000 list of America's fastest growing companies, and an award-winning entrepreneur. This podcast is for parents who want clear, credible guidance when information feels overwhelming or decisions feel heavy. Here, we break down speech, feeding, breathing, learning differences, attention, IEPs, and more in a practical, easy to understand way, alongside trusted experts. My goal is simple: to help you feel informed, supported, and confident as you advocate for your child. You're in the right place, so let's begin.
Welcome back to the Growth Lab. I'm your host, Luba Patlakh. Today's guest is a force in this field. Her name is Jessie Ginsburg, and yes, she's part of a well-known SLP power couple, but today we're focusing on her journey as a clinician, a clinic owner, an educator, and a mom to a very full household. Jessie has built a thriving clinic, a strong online presence, and educational programs that truly move the needle. She's done it while raising a family, navigating growth, and staying deeply rooted in quality care. We're talking about how she started, what makes her clinic so special, and how she's planning for what's next. Welcome to the Growth Lab, Jessie Ginsburg.
Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
Excited. I know it's been a little bit of a long time coming for us to get on here together, but thank you, God, for letting us do this today.
I know. We finally got it on the books.
I want to dive in with you. Before we talk about the today, we're going to take it back a little bit. And I'm just curious, and I'm sure a lot of people want to know, what was it about speech language pathology that made you go in this direction in the first place?
Yeah, since you have a lot of business owners who listen to this, I'll go with this angle, which is that I really wanted a job where I could be my own boss. And that was a huge part of me choosing it. So as much as yes, I love the field and we all love helping people. And of course, those are things that go into it. But I was looking at a lot of different helping professions. And my dad, who has his own accounting firm, he started a winery when I was young, just for fun. He's such an entrepreneur. And my dad's the one who was showing me all these other jobs I was looking at. And he was saying, these are jobs where you can't just graduate and then work on your own. You're working under someone or you're working as part of a team. And that's the difference with being an SLP, a speech language pathologist, which is that you're able to, you could literally graduate to your fellowship and then start your own business, which is what I did.
Sound advice from your dad.
Yeah.
I had a lot of love for your dad when I met you in person and we were chatting about him. So he sounds like a great guy yet again. I love that. Was private practice always part of your plan as you started to go? I know he told you could do that and open your own business, but was there ever a doubt or you were maybe I don't do that? Or were you just yes, I'm going to go for that right away?
I had a lot of therapists and professors say to us, if you want to go into private practice in the future, great. But if you don't go into the schools now, you'll never get that experience of being in the schools. And it was really pushed at our grad school. I think that we had a lot of professors who were school-based therapists, and they had a lot of love for the schools and knew how much schools needed SLPs too. And I do remember going through that in my mind back and forth thinking, well, should I go into schools just so that I could experience being in the schools? But it's just that what my values were didn't align with that job if I were to take it in the schools. And the thing is, which I love about our profession, is there's no one setting that's better for another. It's completely based on what are your values and what do you want your day-to-day life to look like. And as you mentioned, my partner, Chris, who's also an SLP, he has been in the schools for over 20 years. And I could not pay him $1 million to work in my practice, and he couldn't pay me $1 million to work in his school. You know, but in private practice, I loved the flexibility, and I loved more than anything getting to work really closely with parents. That was a huge part of, you know, my values as a therapist, was how can I empower parents to do this at home and work with the little ones. So for me, it was never more than like that little bit of questioning in my head on if I should do it or not.
What age range do you presently work with? And is that representative of your clinic, or is that just what you choose?
Our clinic is, I would say about 80% of our kids or more are 8 and under. So I currently am only seeing a handful of kids, and that's really just because we've had some therapists come in and out, and I've kind of hung on to some of my favorites anyway, even though we love them all. But yeah, I've got a fun caseload right now of you know, a few autistic kids, AAC, which anyone who's not an SLP listening, that's kids who are communicating with a device. And then I'm also doing some fun, you know, kids working on different speech sounds, just because I've known their families for forever. And that's kind of how it goes.
We call those the VIPs for me. People are like, oh, will you take these people? I'm like, yes, because they're from, you know, oh man, do I know what you're saying?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to juggle as a mom too, because especially when my kids were smaller, I would spend all my energy and effort all day. And at that point, I didn't have clinics. And I was just driving to school and getting on the floor and playing with the kids. By the time I got home, the last thing I wanted to do was play with my kids, even though I missed them all day and felt some sense of guilt in that regard. So it's, as a parent, a toss up a little bit too, because we devote so much. I mean, I've devoted my life to kids just like you have. Mm-hmm. Especially that early intervention age. I think that's my sweet spot. Sounds like it might be for you as well. So your clinic is booming. When did you decide to create your first online product? Tell us a little bit about how that came to fruition for you.
Yeah. So what happened was we'd been seeing kids in my clinic, and something that I was always talking about was autism and what our approach to working with autistic kids was like. And it was very, you know, play-based, centered around regulation, centered around how can we get them to engage with us and how can we get them to connect with us. And if we do that, then language will come naturally. So I had written some articles before for our national magazine, and I decided to write one on this approach, which I called the language staircase. And it's just about how can we build language by focusing on things like regulation and engagement. So I wrote this article, and every article you put your email address in the bottom of it. And I'd written for them before, and I had gotten 0 emails. Like I had never had someone contact me saying, hey, I want to learn more about this or anything. And then that article, when it came out, I had emails pouring in from therapists all over. And it was like immediately when it came out, I had so many therapists saying, I feel this too, but I didn't know other people felt this way. And I'm wondering if you have any resources and how can I learn more about this? And that was the moment where I realized that these resources didn't exist. And that was the beginning.
And that was the beginning.
And so that was in 2019. So then what happened is I created a Facebook group. I started doing a lot of just like free online teaching and, you know, free downloads and stuff like that. And then right when the pandemic hit, I was sitting in my new apartment because my ex-husband and I had just split up semi-recently. And I was sitting in this apartment and I was just scrolling Facebook, and all these therapists were on Facebook saying, what are we going to do? How are we going to see our autistic kids through teletherapy? How are we going to do virtual sessions? I can barely get them to engage in a therapy room. How am I going to get them to engage on a computer? And then it was no more than 10 seconds of me thinking about this. Genuinely, I posted in a big group and I said, if I go live tomorrow and I talk about how to do virtual therapy with autistic kids, would you come? And then I had like hundreds of people respond. And I mean, I literally said, I will go live tomorrow morning.
You're like, all these people tuned in.
Yeah. And this was like before I was speaking a lot. Like I didn't really know what I was going to say.
You remember how many viewers you had?
Yeah. It was just the beginning. So I ended up going live and had a lot of therapists show up live and watch. And that's really how my sensory course for SLPs was born, was out of that need that I saw. Because what ended up happening was a lot of that training on how to support autistic kids virtually is about how do we get them regulated? How do we get them regulated? How do we get them engaged? And then that naturally led into the sensory training for SLPs, which a lot of therapists don't have.
This is not only necessary, but it's probably the only way to find progress. And if you're not utilizing these skills, and if you're a therapist out there and you haven't yet checked out Jessie's information and feedback and products, you should, because I think it'll help you in the long run with your clientele base, especially if you see a lot of autistic kids or neurodiversity. And it's amazing that you're willing to share that, because some people will do it for themselves and then they'll be like, like nobody needs this, but you saw the calling. So I'm so happy for you that happened. Tell us about how your social exploded. Was it kind of just like, you did this live and then suddenly all these people are following you? Did you do a call to action? Were you watching and you're just like 10,000, 30,000? Like, I can't even understand how that might look. So tell us about that experience.
And it's funny because like it really has been a slow gain over the years. And I always joke that like people want their social media to grow. And then you're like, well, how often are you posting? Oh, once a week. Okay. I have posted between 1 and 4 times a day on Instagram for the last 6 years, or 5 at least. So it's just like, I don't let a day go by. It really is a priority in our business. And occasionally we have videos that like go really viral and that brings in a lot of followers, but they can also be really heavily criticized when they go viral. It's been about a year since I posted this video about early autism signs, and it went mega viral. And it also brought a lot of people going, that's not autism, but whatever. But
as I always say, every therapist has their methodologies. Yeah. And I feel like it's so unfair when people, that's the sad part about social. While it's so engaging and it's so informative and actually very educational a lot of the time, like we'll post videos just live from the clinic at Kidology. Hey, if you're a mom, this is what you can expect. Or if you're a provider interested in this field, this is what you can expect. And it's really like an awesome deep dive without stepping into our clinic to see what we're doing. And some people are so excited and some people are like, super critical. And I've told everyone, I'm like, don't let it affect you. And I'm sure you can, be of the same mindset there. But it is pretty crazy how quickly people will put you down just because they don't believe in that or they don't agree. And you're kind of just like, hey, like, stay in your own lane. I'm not coming to your house.
Yeah. So and Chris and I are really lucky to have each other there because he has way more followers. He has like over 1 million followers between Instagram and TikTok. But
so impressive.
So it's Chris. Like we can talk each other off the cliff, like when we're feeling down, because it's like, what advice would you give to someone else? And when he has some video that does really well and then he gets like one person who hates it and then he wants to archive the video. It's like, if you stop talking every time someone disagreed with you, you would not be where you are right now. And you would not be doing the things that you are doing. So it's like, you just have to put your blinders on. You have to be so firm in your beliefs and convicted in the messages that you are trying to spread, that you don't care what everyone else says, which is easy to say, hard to do.
Woo.
But that's definitely what I think.
I've heard some good advice. That is it. That is it.
That's definitely hard to do in the world of social, but that's definitely like what brings on your followers, is like really telling the stories that are important to you and talking about your beliefs that you hold very close to you. And that will inevitably get people who either love you or hate you. But that's what they say, it's your job when you're marketing is either to attract or repel people.
No, that's spot on there. What do you think truly sets your clinic apart? Aside from all the beautiful things you've just said for your branding, but specifically at the clinic.
Yeah, I think about this a lot because, as you know, it's just nonstop on the mind, clinic all the time. But I think about what sets it apart or what therapists can get here that they can't get elsewhere when we're bringing in a new team. And I think that, you know, the two biggest reasons therapists come and stay are, one, the mentorship and training, and then two is just the culture of the clinic where everyone gets along. And that's a really hard thing to do. You know, it's very hard to make sure that you're keeping like a positive work culture in the clinic, but really people come here to learn. So we don't see, you know, only autistic kids in our clinic. Like, yes, we see autistic kids. We also see kids for speech sounds. We see kids for early intervention, but at our clinic, we don't see every diagnosis under the sun. So it really allows our therapists to dive deeper into trainings and learning about the types of kids that we do see. So I think that sets us aside. I mean, other than, you know, our values being play-based and sensory focused and all of that, but I think that there are a lot of clinics out there that are like that now too, you know.
I feel like there's definitely a growth in that space. Are you guys offering multidiscipline, or are you offering just speech therapy right now?
Not anymore. We had OT. We actually stopped in the pandemic. We had one OT on our team. And it's just funny because our therapists always wanted to use the gym, but when we had an OT in the gym, they couldn't use the gym. It's not big enough. We're not like you, okay? Well, we don't have this massive operation we're running here. But it's just, now it kind of works out because all of our SLPs are obviously sensory trained, and then they're able to go in and out of the gym as they want. So that is nice.
No, and I think that it gives, you know, and I don't know if everybody out there knows, but when you graduate, I've heard a rumor that quite a couple speech grads are coming to you from across the country to complete their clinical fellowships and will move to work in your clinic. So there's definitely something very special there. And spoiler alert, maybe it's you, but I think that just generally, you're right, it's a place of learning. But I think that the clients that are coming to you, they find value, and it's not like every other clinic because your models are different. And I tell every clinician that comes to my business and families that sometimes won't find a match in the person that they've been assigned to, perhaps, that every clinician has their own style. And it's just so important to build that rapport, to find your sweet spot with the people that are coming to you that you're going to serve, because that, for me, is what sets us apart. And believe me, there's a lot of times when families will come and say, can I try someone else? It happens. Not every person is for every person. But I think that the ability to trial, the ability to recognize that there are so many clinicians with their own foundational understandings and capabilities is really what sets clinics apart today. Yeah. Because there's a lot of clinics.
What do you tell your therapist when that happens? Because I find that, like, as much as we understand that, you know, there's different personality types and we're parents and we know this, I still feel like it's a hit to their confidence when something like that happens.
Well, think back, and you always worked for yourself. See, in the beginning, I worked for someone else. And I do remember that I had a situation in early intervention. Our schedules didn't align, and I kept trying to talk to the mom. And in the end, the mom just requested a different provider. And I took it very personally initially. But then I'm like, I kind of checklisted myself, and I do that with them. And it was like, did I do anything wrong? Did I offer all the potential support I could have offered, like A to Z? Was my effort there? Did I do everything to accommodate their needs? Did the child and I connect? So if you checklist question yourself, you're likely going to be able to get over it faster. And if you give them that ability, hey, did you put all your effort in? And they'll be like, yeah, I think so. So if they didn't, that's that moment for them to have a learning experience. Like, okay, maybe I could do something better next time. And if they did, they're just going to have to learn to brush it off. Again, not everybody's for everybody, and that's kind of what I stick with. But I just tell them to do their best and keep smiling, and the next 5 people will be for them. You know, you have to motivate a lot of the time with the clinicians, the younger ones too, that are coming in. Because as you're aware, in our field as a speech pathologist, you have the love here in your heart first before you have the piece of paper. You go for the piece of paper because you have the intention to help people. And with younger generations, sometimes recently I'm seeing that they're like more like, well, I can learn this, and it's just not for everybody. And those are the ones that sometimes don't do as well. But the ones that come with the heart, they always succeed. They just have to find their crowd. So.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting and true. And it's like, I think about, it's kind of the same as when you have a therapist who's ready to leave the clinic. You know, sometimes like we'll have families who are upset, and I'm like,
oh, yeah,
the second a therapist wants to leave should be the second that you want them to leave.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's the same with like therapists.
You're not
and
going to get
families.
the same effort.
Yeah. If there's a mismatch, like if a parent comes to us and says, we don't want to see the therapist anymore, it's like, well, the therapist shouldn't want to see them anymore, because it's a two-way street, that connection, right. You know, but I think it's hard to step back sometimes and look at that from a neutral.
And actually, speaking on that, some advice that I offer to both sides, the parent and the provider, sometimes a kiddo just can't get any further with a specific therapist, or if the therapist happens to be transitioning to a different role or a different location or whatever the situation is, I tell the families, because they'll be so devastated, oh, well, we love that provider. I got it. I'm so happy that you found that connection. But having new experiences with a different provider who has their own style will wow you maybe even more. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing when people come with 2 kids. Well, my other son, please leave your comparisons at the door, parents, providers, everyone, and allow yourself to develop those same communications and relationships with each new pairing. Every new client to provider, I call them providers, clinicians, providers, just in case people don't know what that is. And then parents, of course, because in early intervention, your patient is not just the child, it's also the family, the whole family. It could be grandma, grandpa, mom, dad. So there's a lot to remember in terms of speaking, you know, when you're talking about the heart of what this business actually is. Being a clinician is just one part. There's a lot of involvement in other areas. Jessie, I want to talk a little bit more with you. You know, you're a mom, you have many kids. How has that influenced your ability and your want to grow your business?
So I think that, gosh, it still all comes down to flexibility and wanting that flexibility. And it's like, now is a great time to be thinking. I mean, it's December. I don't know when this will air, but we've got our kids have their class holiday parties this week, and I want to be there for those, you know, and I think I've really come to terms with what I want my life to look like, because when I was younger, when I was like 20, 22, all I wanted was to be a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, my eyes were set on that. And my, then, you know, boyfriend turned into husband was like, well, do you realize how expensive it is to live here? Like, that's not even that's an option for you if you want to sacrifice, you know, whatever things, quality of life that you may want. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever.
You're like, I'll go work.
I was so young at the time. I'm like, okay, I'm just immature.
Little did you know you would create an amazing business.
And I think I had that guilt for so long because my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she helped my dad with his businesses, which of course we didn't see because that was during school hours, but it was like she was driving us everywhere and she was at everything. And if I did a play and I performed the same show 6 days a week, she would be at every one of those 6 shows. She would be at our school rallies when I cheered, and she would be at every game, even though she hated sports. And, you know, so she was there all the time. And I think that I held on to that, like that I needed to be that person, but it's just that it doesn't it doesn't fulfill me in the way that I need it to. I don't know. I know you'll understand when I say that, but it sounds so horrible. But it's like one of those things where I'm like, I want to show my kids what's possible. And I think that I read this book. I think it's called How to Raise an Adult. And it talks about, you being able to show your kids that you're chasing after your passions and dreams. And that's going to show them that it's okay for them to do the same. And it's a very like straightforward, blunt book, but they're like, your kids are not your passion. Your kids are not your hobby. Your kids are your kids, so you have to go beyond. You still want to do the things that are for you. And it's kind of the same as like, if I had never seen my dad start his own businesses and go through that, then I probably wouldn't have started mine, So I think that I've had a more of like a come to realization that my kids get to spend a lot of time with my mom, who's, now lives here in LA, and she's helping with them, picking them up from school. It's giving her purpose in her life. And then there's just a lot of good things that still come from having a village, and then me being able to have a flexible schedule. And if I want to leave work early, I can leave work early. And yesterday we took off the day and we went to Disneyland, and we pulled the kids out of school and we all went, and I can do that, Yeah. So it's just like, I had this motto that I started saying to myself, which was be where you are, because I was having so much guilt that when I was home, I was thinking about work. And then when I was at work, I was thinking about being at home with my kids. And I'm like, if I could just tell myself, be where you are. And when I'm home, I'm home. And when I'm at work, I'm at work. Then I close my laptop at the end of the day, and it's brain shift.
That you transition.
And then like leaving all the guilt behind.
I think as being in our shoes, we have the same degree, but we have different businesses, some similarities, but we have different businesses. And I think that I struggle with that even still. People are like, oh, but you're like, 10 years in. Yeah, it's sometimes it's even worse. The other day, when I was dropping my daughter off to dance, and the mom's like, oh, come in, you should do the class. We're going to have a class. And I'm like, look in my sweater and my work clothes. And I'm like looking at her, and she's in her fitness. And I'm like, I want to, but my mind is still on the work stuff, and I got to take a phone call right now. And like, sometimes you really put aside you. And I love what you said. Like, you close your laptop and you go home, and you're now in that mode, and you have to be where you are. And that's like a very real topic for me, especially the juggle of the guilt. When I'm at home, I'm guilty for not working. When I'm at work, I'm guilty for not being home or being with the kids. And unfortunately, I think that's just something that happens to overachieving business owners who, because it's, you're like, I've just won 10 more minutes, and I'm just going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. And then it just doesn't end. Yeah. So to be able to place that for yourself, a little chip to just be like, that's it. Boom, I'm done here. My shift is over, and I'm going to my next thing. I think that's so solid, and I have to remind myself of that all the time. So,
yeah, what I am working on right now, and big goal for next year, is just sticking to my schedule. Like, I went down and I sat and I wrote out every one of my work blocks that need to be on my calendar every week. And I wrote out, I need this much time to work on our live show and trainings and social media and training the clinicians. And I just wrote everything out, because what happens is when we're in that put out the fire mode, we're putting all of our big dreams aside to work on all of the things that feel more urgent, although there's things that we want to do that are more important. And one of those things for me is how I can blend kind of my kids with my business life, like what I'm really working on now. And I keep saying I want to do this, but then I just keep having more kids, and I'm done now. Like my big goal is I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to go and meet families in other countries who need support and train teams. And I want to do a couple big trainings a year and bring my kids and make it a family thing, So it's like, I would never start working on those plans if I didn't put it in my calendar. So
It's not possible to.
Yeah.
I can't even get a Calendly together half the time. It's real though. It's a real issue. Not because I'm like disorganized. I'm doing things and I often leave little gaps because if I'm in the office, I'm going to meet this person or that person. And rather than always putting it down on paper before, the flow was kind of like, oh, I'll get there. I'll do that. And I did all these things, but they weren't listed. And now it's almost like if I don't list them, it works against me because I'm not even sure what's going on. My schedule is kind of here and there. Yeah, I have a gap here, I have a gap there. It's like when I had a really great interview with David Meltzer, I don't know if you know who that is, catch that episode, but he told me that he has a scheduling manager that just manages his schedule. And he wakes up super early and they have it mapped out like the entire day. Like he's like, I am the most productive because I have this super managed schedule. And I'm like, wow, that is, I'm aspiring to that now.
Yeah.
Because I want to do a lot of things like you. And there's only 24 hours in a day. You got to sleep sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
It's tricky. Tell us a little bit about the process behind putting together a course or putting together something that people can purchase. I know I'm sure you guys bootstrapped that for some time, putting it together yourselves. Maybe you're still putting it together yourselves. How does that look? How did it start?
So this was actually something that I did that I think a lot of people don't do. And I would recommend any person do this who's interested in selling something like a course, which is I sold the course and then I wrote the course. So I did a launch. One of my business mentors, Kelly Roach, she wrote this book called The Live Launch. I read her book. I followed it to a T. I did a free week-long webinar and I sold the course at that webinar. So I said, this course is coming, buy it now. So I essentially pre-sold it. And then I had some delivery date of like in maybe 6 weeks later or something like that. So what ended up happening was I was like, well, I don't want to put all the energy in if 5 people are going to sign up. I'd rather just give refunds at that point. And I just had no idea. I had no idea how many people would buy. I had attempted to launch an online course the year before, which did not go. I mean, I thought it did amazing because I had 11 people sign up and I made $4,000. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just made $4,000. Like I was to the moon beyond happy. But that was the extent of like the success I had. So I was like, I just don't want to put in all this time and energy if I'm not going to get anyone to buy it. So I went on this webinar and I sold it. And I think we sold maybe 250 people in the first week that the cart was open. It was like around $200,000 of revenue. And I was like, I cannot believe this happened. I guess there is a need. And then I went and I took part of that money and I had it professionally filmed, the course. And then it became this product that I was super proud of because when people buy, and you know, therapists are like, we don't like to spend money on a lot. And some people do not like buying those $1,000 courses. And now at least I know when they log on, they're going to be like, wow, this is really nice. And so I had it professionally filmed and then now we can resell it. You know, obviously that was like a one-time thing, but pre-selling I think is a really, really good idea. And I think a lot of people don't do that because they're so nervous. Like, well, how do I sell something that isn't made yet? But it really lights the fire. I will tell you that.
No, I mean, it's brilliant and shows how much of a savvy businesswoman you are to prep it like that. And that was a genius thing. Then what about the compilation? Did you write everything down? Did you type it out? Did you have a projector? Like, how did that look for you?
So I do my best work when I get up, I let my coffee sink in, and it's like 10 a.m. That's when, like the time we're on right now, if I wasn't on with you, I actually usually try to schedule interviews in the afternoon because I know that this late morning hour is like when I can pump out the most content. But I sat down and I just write. It's like free flow brain. I call it a brain dump. Like you're just dumping everything out in your brain. And I just think when you sit down and you think too hard and you edit yourself as you're going, then you're holding back. And it's like, you just got to get it all out first, you know? And even if you don't know what you're going to write a course about, just sit down and just brain dump if I could teach someone something, here's everything on my brain. Here's anything that I could share with them. So I did that. And then I just started looking for patterns like, oh, well, this makes sense to put here and all of this should be here. And this could be a module and this could be a module. And I mean, there was also a lot of going into the clinic and trying things with our families and then coming back, you know, because part of our sensory course is an assessment to try to figure out what a child's sensory needs are. And that was something that got iterated many times I thought I came up with the most perfect assessment, and then I would come in and I would use it on a few kids. And then I would be like, it's not good enough. It's not clear enough, the results that you get at the end. And so I love that you're
trialing, you're giving your lived experiences. And I think that that's the most valuable thing, aside from somebody doing it themselves. But like, hey guys, I actually tested this before I gave it to you. And not only did I test it once, I tested it many times. So it's perfect. So that's pretty incredible. And thank you for all that you're doing for our fellow speech community, because I think it's funny, like 10 years ago, I was like, oh, it wasn't clear where this was all going to go. You know what I mean? Yeah, we could be speech therapists. Yeah. But like to see how it's evolved for so many of us and to meet more speech therapists, and every single person has something to contribute that's completely different.
Yeah,
completely different and valuable. Mm-hmm. So I'm fascinated, and I think that speech is an incredible field, and I'm so proud to be a part of it with you.
Yeah, it is.
Tell me, you know, obviously you shared a little bit about selling that first course, $200,000. Like that's pretty fantastic. What was your reaction? You know, excitement, fear, disbelief, what was going to happen next? And, talk about the behind the scenes, kind of like when the growth happened and the plotting of what's coming next.
You mean after it came out and what's coming next?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Were you like, that's it? Like, I don't need to do, I'm making more courses, or what was your intention with that?
Yeah, it's a scary place to be in, because it's like you have this high of excitement of, wow, I can't believe that happened. And then it's, but how can this continue? How can I keep doing this? And then you start to feel the pressure of, is this repeatable? Can I keep doing this? Is this scalable? And those were some lessons that we had to learn, because there are certain things in these group programs that are scalable and certain things are not, you know. And we had periods of time where I had other SLPs I was hiring just part-time to check in with people and do a lot of one-on-one touch. And it's like that stuff can be very difficult to scale sometimes when it's one-to-one. Whereas with the groups, it's easier. So I think that like we've just continued to change, and then anything could do well if you sell it one time or two times. Can it be sold repeatedly? And a lot of times that just takes making small changes to the offer. Like there were times when we went from selling the course as like a cohort model, and then we sold it as self-paced, and then we sold it as like an annual program where people are paying monthly, and it's all the same content, but you're changing the model. Yeah, we're adding like calls, or we're pulling something else, and we're just changing it. So I think it's just, you have to be willing to constantly change and adapt. And that's kind of gotten us to where we are now, which is we have the level 1 course, which is a signature. And then we have that lead into a level 2, but then we also have a membership, which is our lower level price point, our NeuroFirm Academy as well. So
many great tools. What lessons did you learn the hard way that maybe you do differently moving forward?
It's hard. Anytime I hear a question, my mind goes to either like clinic or online. But you have a unique split because you have both. It's hard because it's a very, very different problems. And I don't know if there's anything I would do differently. You know, I'm such a believer in that things happen as they should. And like, I could look at my clinic and say, well, that was too bad that I hired that one person who only stayed for 3 months and then took $10,000 of trainings and then left. But it's like, I learned something from that, you know? So I think that, like, if I had been able to, like, going back to the calendar and managing priorities, there's things that I didn't prioritize earlier on that I could have. Like, for example, when I wrote my book last year, that took me years because I did not prioritize it. And I didn't realize that all it took was putting a 2-hour window in my work week every week to get it done, you know? But it's just like,
you're going to teach me good scheduling habits. I already know. You're motivating me to
everything
do better.
happens as it should. And then, you know, anytime someone leaves now, I'm just fine. I'm like, I mean, I'll be sad if it's someone I enjoyed working with, but it's just the natural progression.
Such is life.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what it's like building along someone else in the same field. Like, that's an interesting fusion too, because you do have separate work lives in the same field.
Yeah.
So how's that?
Yeah. I remember thinking when I was married before, like, I think a lot of people think, like, I could never work with my spouse, like, ever. And Chris and I, our entire relationship was built upon our work. It came work first, relationship came second, because we sat on the board for California together. We realized we both loved supporting autistic kids. We were going to speak together, and that's how our entire relationship started. So it's kind of like I wouldn't know that relationship if it weren't for it being built that way. But it's definitely interesting. It's an interesting balance because it's us, like, we do talk about, like, it's sometimes I just want to watch Real Housewives, and he's like, can you read this goal for this IEP I have tomorrow? You know, so, like, there's moments where it goes both ways, where he's like, can we just not talking about, like, because I'll be like, oh, we got this request for a speaking engagement, and he's like, can you tell me tomorrow? You know, but then there's times where it's like we could sit and talk, like, for 2 hours about something work-wise. So, and then we are truly, like, living what we are teaching right now. I mean, we are in this house of 5 kids, 9 and under. It's just like dysregulation is the name of the game, and teaching our kids to be able to play together nicely and help each other. And it's just like we are practicing the things that we're preaching literally every day. So it also kind of, like, works out well in that sense.
You guys are in a land of innovation because you're living all of these things, and you probably have so much insight. That's why you make your reels and stuff look so easy, because it's real life. You're literally in this realm of it. What's one mistake that you see therapists making when they're trying to grow?
These are good questions. You've heard me say things similar to this before, but I think, like, trying to be good at everything is a mistake people make. And, like, when I started my clinic, I was like, oh, your kid had a brain injury and just had brain surgery. Sure, I'll take them. Your kid stutters. Sure, I'll take them. Your kid is 14. And like I took everyone because of that, like, scarcity mindset of, oh my gosh, if I don't say yes, I can't pay my bills, and I have to see everyone, and I have to be good at everything. But it's like, the better you can be at fewer things, the faster you will grow.
That's awesome advice. And what's one mindset shift that changed everything for you personally?
So a big one for me, just in growing a business. Have you ever read Who Not How? I
haven't read that one. I'll have to read that.
Oh, yeah. So it's just about we can essentially do anything that we want to do. It's just a matter of, like, finding the right who. And it's switching from the mentality of how can I get that done to who can help me get that done. And when you're in a place where like you and I are at, where you have so many people relying on you and you have so many people who need your attention and your attention is going everywhere, like you cannot personally do everything yourself. But there are ways that you can delegate and you could get those things off the ground without you having to do it all. And I have moments like last week, we did a live training where we had therapists coming to do our sensory certificate course live. And I have 2 team members who ran like 75% of the entire event, and they could have done 100%. I like to do it and show up and do it. But I just had a moment where I was like, man, I can't believe, like, if you had asked me 5 years ago, would I have other people who could go on live and other people are spending $1,000 to show up and learn from our team and it not be me, I would have never thought that we would have gotten to that place. But it's just that, you know, you have to trust your team and help them to develop their skills. And then that's really how you can grow.
I love how you're so calm right now. Tell us your secrets about being calm.
Regulation. No.
Oh my God. Do you meditate? No, seriously.
So I'm on day 16 right now.
Oh, you're doing a thingy.
December 16th. I just started December 1st, and it's not long. It's like literally 5 minutes in the morning.
Is it an app?
No, but I read this book called Abundance Ever After, and it just inspired me. And then she does these like group meditations and
oh, that's awesome
and stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this.
I've been trying to get on a path of journaling and meditating. It just requires getting up a little earlier. And I think that right now I'm still in like a cling to my pillow, because by the time I get peace and quiet at home in the night, that alone time it just goes so quickly. And before I know it, it's always like midnight, 12:30, and then I'm exhausted. Yeah. So I think
you gotta get 8 hours sleep. 8 hours, 100%.
That's hard. I know. I'm trying. I'm working on that. Thank you. Yeah. So, have some rapid fire questions for you. Ooh. Clinic owner or content creator?
That's hard. That's not fair. No. That's mean. Goal is being able to do a lot of trainings and spread the word while the clinic continues to run.
Combo. We'll take combo here. Okay. Yeah. Systems or spontaneity?
Systems. I'm not a spontaneous person, though.
Gotta do the systems. CEO day or therapy day?
CEO day. I just love it. You can get more. It's like greater bang for your buck, you know?
For sure. Best business decision that you've ever made?
Probably going live on that day in the pandemic without putting any planning into it.
No, that you're awesome. You're gonna have to link me to that. Is there a recording? I mean, it was a live.
I'm sure it's not fun to watch. It was a long time ago. Yeah.
Hardest season in business. Ooh, that's a hard one.
Oh my gosh, there's been a lot. But I've had periods where just I've had a lot of therapists like move, and normally it's for good reason, like getting married, baby, moving out of state. But it's just like when those things happen back to back, it's definitely hard.
When it rains, it pours. That's hard. Yeah.
Always. I always say that.
Always.
Because anytime something bad happens, I'm like, oh no,
here we go.
Yeah.
Buckle up, guys.
Yeah.
One non-negotiable for working moms.
Ooh. You time.
How do you fit that in, Jessie?
I belong to this tennis club, and I go there a lot. Like most mornings I go there and I literally work out for 10 minutes. So I'm not like, don't look at me for fitness tips, but I will do 10 minutes and then I'll work on my computer, give myself just some time to breathe before throwing myself into the day.
So you do that at that place. That's your space.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. One thing that you want therapists to stop apologizing for?
Stop apologizing for doing things that are best for the child.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because sometimes other people want to influence our decisions, and it's like, what you believe in. And I've gotten to the point in our clinic where if a family's not a good match, I'm just like, let's let them leave. Like we don't need to argue about this. Not that it ever happens, but I'm saying, like, in theory, like, if we're not a good match, we're not a good match. Like,
clear the air instead of building on the fire. Like, I always feel that way. We had a family, mom really wanted, like, sometimes we like when the child goes just with the clinician, especially when they're already comfortable, because they just behave differently, and then we provide feedback to the family. But there was a mom who always wanted to be in the session, and her child knew their relationship, and he would not listen when she was around. He just would not listen, and we were not productive. And she just wanted to keep coming and sitting there and watching this, and she would get into some sort of, well, you guys aren't really doing anything. And we'd be like, do you mind sitting out? We're going to do tons. If you don't mind, if you sit out, we'll report back. She wouldn't want to. He would continue the cycle of poor behavior, not sitting in therapy, not listening, not producing anything because she was there. So we're like, look, at this point, like, you're wasting time. We're wasting time. What's the purpose of this? She didn't want to listen to you came here for expertise. And you don't want to listen. That's okay.
Yeah. And it's just like, that's okay. And we all move on. No emotional ties needed.
You are so well composed, so busy, yet so calm, so put together. A true example. I've learned so much from you just from this conversation. I love chatting with you and being able to grow, as a business professional and in my therapy. So I want to just say thank you. Thanks for being here on the Growth Lab and sharing this time with me. If there are people out there who don't already know you, you celebrity SLPU, can you tell us where they could find you and where they might be able to sign up for some of your courses?
Find me on Sensory SLP on Instagram, TikTok, website, all of the places. And I do have a free training. So if anyone is interested in just getting their feet wet, that is on our website, sensoryslp.com.
Definitely check that out. Thanks so much for tuning into the Growth Lab. And thank you, Jessie, for being here. Until next time.
Thank you.